Today we are going to work on finding the area of triangles. By the end of class, you are going to be able to use the formula, our new area formula, to find the area of triangles. But before we do that, I want to take a look at these figures here. Now, there's 7 figures here, and your goal is to draw one line to decompose. Decompose means to break apart, break down. One line to break down your figure into 2 identical triangles. Now, you might not be able to do that for all of these, but we are going to try. You're going to use a straight edge, so I recommend using either a ruler. If you don't have a ruler, I'm just going to use a note card or the edge of a paper or something like that. But you do want to make sure that your line is straight. So our goal is to take these figures and see if it is possible for us to draw only one line to create 2 identical triangles. I will model that with A for us. So I have a square here, and I am going to go ahead and break down that square, decompose my square with one straight line, giving me 2 identical triangles. So yes, this one does in fact work. You're going to pause the video here, and you are going to see if B, C, D, E, F, and G, which of those can you draw one line to break the figure into 2 identical triangles? Go for it. All right, so let's see which ones did not work. Well, right here, I can do my line across this parallelogram, getting me 2 identical triangles. That one works. This parallelogram works. This one here is a quadrilateral, so I can make a triangle, make 2 triangles, but they are not identical, so that one doesn't work. Here I have a rectangle. I can go ahead and do those opposite corners, getting me 2 identical triangles. D works. E, we have a trapezoid, and although I can go to my opposite angles, making 2 triangles, they are not identical, so that one does not work. F, I have a parallelogram, so I can go ahead here and use this opposite corners. And yes, I have 2 identical triangles. If I flip this one, it'll match this one, so this one does work. And then lastly, do you have another parallelogram? It's just a skinny little mini. And I again have 2 triangles. If I folded it in half, I would get that identical triangle, so that works. So C and F work, or do not work, excuse me. A, B, D, F, G work. E and C do not work. So I want you to pause and think. What do A, B, D, F, and G have in common? What do E and C have in common? Why do these ones, these 5, why are they able to be divided into 2 identical triangles? And why are C and E not? Great. So all of these figures are quadrilaterals. So that's not allowing us to divide it into 2 identical triangles or not. But this is a trapezoid, and this is a quadrilateral without any parallel sides. So when they don't have those parallel sides, it won't work, or they only have one set of parallel sides. However, if we have a parallelogram, then we can divide our figure immediately, directly, one line, into 2 identical triangles. So what does that tell us for the formula of our triangles? Well, we know that for a parallelogram, our area formula is base times height. So how does that help us in determining the formula for a triangle? Well, we see here that any parallelogram can be divided in half with just one straight line. So our area formula for a triangle is area equals half of the base times height. So if I took this rectangle and I only wanted actually this triangle, the area of this triangle, I could find the area of the full rectangle, base times height, and I just want half of that, so I would multiply by half. Or I could do area equals base times height divided by 2. So again, if I just want this little bit of triangle here, this triangle, I would find the base and the height of the entire rectangle and then divide it by 2 to get this triangle's area. So the area for your triangle is area equals half of the base times height. So either one of these formulas will work, and we will see what both of those look like today. Our steps when we are finding the area of a triangle. Our first step when finding the area is always write your formula. So your formula should be at the top of every single problem you solve. No exceptions. You need to practice. You need to have these memorized. I need to see them on your paper. Step 2 is to label your figure. So we look at the formula and we see that we already have that half. That doesn't change, but we need to know our base and our height. So we would go ahead and label the base and height on every triangle. Step 3 would be then to substitute the measurements into your formula. So you would take the base and height that you labeled and substitute them in for those variables here. And lastly, you would solve. Now we want to make sure that we do not forget our units. And because it's area, we need them to be units squared. All right, so we learned so far that if we take a parallelogram, we can, with one straight line, divide it in half to give ourselves two identical triangles. That leads us to our area formula, which is half of the base times height, or base times height divided by 2. We learned that we always start by writing our formula. We then label our figure with what is needed in our formula, substitute our measurements in, and then solve. So let's give this a shot. So our very first step is to write our formula. I'm going to do this one with both my formulas. So the first one is area equals 1/2 of the base times height. I want you to see how both of these work. So that's my first step, is area equals half of the base times height. Here, this is going to be my base, and I'm going to label this as my height. I know these can be my base and my height because they are met at that 90-degree angle. Step 3 is to substitute my measurements in. So I have A equals 1/2. I need to put in a multiplication sign now. 11 times 4. All right, from here, I can go ahead and say, yep, 1/2, 11 times 4 is 44. Now I'm just doing fraction multiplication, which looks like 1/2 times 44/1. When I multiply that out, I have 44 over 2. 1 times 44 is 44. 2 times 1 is 2, which leads me to 44 divided by 2, which equals 22 feet squared. Now, let's see if that matches using the other formula. Area equals base times height over 2. So I substitute in. Area equals 11 times 4 divided by 2. Area equals, well, 11 times 4 is 44 divided by 2. 44 divided by 2, area equals 22 feet squared. So they are the same. So either formula does work. You can either multiply by 1/2 or divide by 2.